Hello, everybody. Good morning, everybody.
Happy to see
Hello.
everyone. Thank you for joining. Good morning. Good
Scaffolding
morning.
this morning, a Sunday morning. We're going to have Nick Paro on as well. We have Zolfina from Letters from a Feminist on first. It turns out if you don't have a huge platform, you can only have three
You
people
just,
on at one
yeah.
time.
We're not
Substack
playing.
won't let you.
We
They're
can't
like,
have more
no,
than
not for
three
you.
women on at a time.
We're,
What are you talking about?
we're
It's too
not
much for
playing.
Substack. It's
We
too
have to be,
much.
yeah, maybe one day. You know what? We will know that we have arrived the day that we're allowed to have four guests on, right?
Okay,
Hooray.
bastards. Yeah.
Good. Good
All right.
morning,
Well,
everyone.
we got a big show. I think we got a lot of questions because there's just been a lot of stuff going on, and Lisa has
Right.
been working like a champ doing this outline for us because she's a very organized person. So, Lisa, you
Oh,
want to
I
take
also
care of
love
it?
to do outlines. It's my favorite
Sometimes,
Ah,
part.
there you go. So, you and
sometimes,
Lisa would get
sometimes.
along well.
So go ahead, Jen.
No, you go ahead, Lisa.
So we are here with Zolfina from Letters from a Feminist, correct?
Yes,
Who
hi.
is an amazing feminist writer who we wanted to bring in and have some feminist perspective from the another generation that is, not ours.
Honestly, that is such a weird thing to say because even Dana says that because, I mean, obviously you guys are Gen X and like, that kind of generation. But honestly, I feel closer to your generation than I do to my generation. I feel like we're worlds apart. But it's
Really?
glad, yeah, I really like,
Really?
I know, because like what people do in my generation is completely different to what I'm trying to do on this platform. So I think we're gonna get along
But
great.
that's why we need you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really I'd love to hear about that. What do you mean by that? Like why are you experiencing that with your own generation? What do you see? Because I really think
Oh,
that insight is critical for all of us to hear about. Why
hmm.
are you having such a difficult time and what are you noticing?
Well, I think first of all, there's a huge disconnect between men and women in my generation. Oh, they are like worlds apart. I mean, statistics, they prove the research. They are so like politically, like the ideologies are like worlds apart. The men that I know in my circle, in my social sphere, even like my family and college students, all of those people, all those kids, they have such an extreme like red pill, that pipeline. They all fall into it, especially men. And we women, like young, we can't even date them. It's gotten to the point where it's absolutely insufferable to date most of it. Most of,
Really?
like, yes, really. And the whole like dating thing, and especially because of TikTok, all those like platforms and obviously dating apps, they are so incredibly like they disconnect people more than they do connect people. And especially when I try to have conversations about, let's say, like feminism or anything like that, I feel like there's more negative perception about feminism,
I would
and there's
agree.
people who don't want to touch upon that word, not even what it does, because what it does is what everyone wants it, gender equality, but specifically that word has been like a dirty, I don't know, like
Mhm.
it's, yeah.
Because
So
they've done a really good job of making it that way, right?
yeah, it's made, I think the media has played such a key role in making young people, like especially young men, uncomfortable with that. Young
Mhm.
women I know, they will call themselves feminists, but young men, they are, I mean, statistics prove it, they're more likely to be not lonely, but they're more isolated. And I think that's the work of the patriarchy, not modern feminism.
I have a question for you because I know it, but I'd love it if you could do your best job explaining. You mentioned red pill.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that have no idea. Would you agree
Mm,
what that means? And could you
yeah.
kind of give your, a definition so people understand that and explain?
Yeah. So I think the red pill like pipeline is what I call it. It's basically when it's a movement to get more young men radicalized on the internet. No matter what kind of app you are on, you as a young man, if you are on the internet, you're pushed misogynistic, anti-feminist rhetoric, more conservative and like extremist values way more than as a young woman on a platform. So there has been multiple research and inquiries, but basically, I this happened to me as well. I have a lot of cousins, young cousins, like boys, and
Mhm.
whenever I go visit them and I go on, for example, their devices, and I remember once I searched up just feminism, and the first like 10 videos on YouTube are all anti feminist rhetoric. They're all Andrew Tate's. They're all just that community of like the manosphere of men who absolutely despise women, or let's say like incels as well, involuntary celibates.
Mhm.
And they're just being pushed on it way more than we young women are on the platform. And I discussed this yesterday on the live I went, and there's something on TikTok called looks maxing community, and that community is when men physically alter their selves to extreme lengths. We're talking about getting not only plastic surgery like lip fillers, we're talking about injecting meth and steroids. And one of the most biggest content creators in that field is called Clavicular. That's not his actual name. But what he is literally 21 years old, and from 14, he started injecting meth and steroids before he even hit the peak of his puberty to, look like the Chad. The Chad is like the ideal man, and there is so many like
Oh God.
concepts, ideologies, and I this has been going since 2020, late 2022. I have seen it. I have not been a victim of it. I have not been radicalized, but I see a lot of people referencing it to it, like students, because I'm a student myself. So yes, that is what red pill is in short. But usually, it's like how you get into that field. I mean, that kind of pipeline is it's very innocent. Let's say you're looking for gym workouts. Let's say if you want to pick up a woman or just date women. How do I date women? And or if you're even gaming, there are like people like men especially who send forums and Reddit's like these kind of like communities
Yes.
that they feed you anti-feminist rhetoric, anti-woman rhetoric, and
Yep.
you just become radicalized by it, especially young men. Yeah.
I'm so happy that you're talking about this, especially from a younger generation,
Yeah.
because I think it's very difficult to explain
Yeah,
to
it is very, yes.
I mean, and for people to understand, like if they have, especially if you have sons or grandsons,
Especially
um,
parents. They
make
have
sure,
no idea.
because it is once they get online, that is like a world, it's a world in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of parents that have no idea what's going on in some of those gaming platforms,
Oh, yes. Yes.
right? They think they're just like playing what is it called? I don't Fortnite. That's not what they play anymore. I can't even remember what
No.
it is now.
A lot of like Fortnite, but also like GTA
Yeah.
especially.
Yes.
Like, have anyone, like, if you play GTA, within like 10 seconds, you see strippers or like women that are completely naked on the screen. And like, I'm talking about 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, they play this. And parents have, I'm not going to say they're entirely clueless, but I just feel like they don't even know how to deal with it. Because even if you shield your son away or your daughter away from it, they're going to find a way to get access to it because everyone in their social circle does this and it's like considered the norm, basically.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
growing up in
I,
this?
because when I grew up, I can recall my grandfather kept his Playboys and pornos for some
Mm.
reason in the bathroom. I don't know why, but a lot of men keep them in the bathroom. And I mean, I remember as a young girl knowing that I was gay, looking at them and this and that. But I mean, that was kind of like the worst of it, quite honestly. And as far as introducing children to this kind of behavior. But now they've, so what you're saying is, and I learned this kind of like in watching Big Bang and then talking to men who've been in these gaming communities since like even as early as the 80s, quite honestly,
Mm.
but certainly picking up in the 90s and stuff, and what they've learned and how they've socialized in there. And I've said for a long time that men are bonding in this violence against women, and people are
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
ah, my you know my father used to say, well, that's just because the type of men that you work around. But no, it's everywhere. I mean, then granted, this is my father telling me it's not all men, and yet my father, I didn't know until adulthood, I thought he was working the whole time trying to support us. No, he was off having affairs and other lives with other women his whole life. So, I mean, it's like they deny it, and they just automatically deny it. but yet and this is what it's developed into.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you hear from our politicians all the time, like, we want to support the children, we want to protect the children, and yet this seems to just be
Just
like
rhetoric.
has grown and nobody's ever addressed any of it
I
Yeah.
feel
whatsoever.
like children are less supported and protected today than
Oh,
they have
that's so true.
ever been. Truly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, speaking of, when we were jumping on, Zolfina was talking about a piece that I had written questions about to talk to you about the last piece that you wrote, but she brought up a piece that she's working on that I think is really interesting and she had wanted
Yes.
to talk about. So, did you want to share kind of some of the things that you had mentioned?
Yes. So I'm gonna come up with this. Hopefully, I'll upload this piece today. But basically, men are profiting off of MAGA deepfake influencers, specifically only women influencers. It's thousands, like I'm talking about millions of followers on Instagram, on Facebook, everywhere we can think of, and they're swooning over like these MAGA, like the American Dream girls, like blonde, blue eye. Like no offense to you, Lisa, but it's specifically.
Side job anyway.
They don't consider me to be a beauty, don't worry about
No,
it.
no, no, like specifically, they all look very young. Like I'm talking about young 20s, and
Yeah.
it's like part patriotism, part porn, because they do have like OnlyFans where
Yeah.
you pay to see these AI generated like nudes basically, and it's 100%
Patriot
AI
Sport.
generated.
Awesome.
Yes, yes, and
Good.
it is made by specifically men. There was this one case, and it came out literally a couple days ago, and I don't know why no one's talking about it. It's basically an Indian student, medical student. He was paying off his medical school bills by creating this AI generated dream girl, and within months he had within 1 month he had tens and thousands of followers, and then he created OnlyFans, and it's basically just profiting off of women's body, but this is AI generated, but it's still impactful because what I will say, he's quoted every day. I'd write something pro-Christian, pro-Second Amendment, pro-life, anti-abortion, anti-woke, and anti-immigration, and his account like completely blew up. Every reel he posted was getting 3 million views, 5 million views, 10 million views. And the algorithm specifically, this is not like individual. There's so many examples of these AI influencers. The algorithm rewards this kind of content, like the Hitlerish kind of content. And yeah, it's absolutely disgusting. And one of the examples is called Emily Hart. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it's
I
this.
believe so.
I think so. It's with selfies with Trump and
Yes.
Putin.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. There you go. Those are AI
And
MAGA
even though
influencers.
they're basically false, the men want to believe it, even though
They
and it's the acceptance. It's almost like when you go back to the 80s and you think about boys trying to create robot girlfriends and stuff.
mm,
They just want something to be there, or blow up dolls. That's what they're looking for.
exactly. And
They don't want you to talk back, and if you do talk back, it better be, complimentary to the man that you're with, kind of thing. I think what gets me is most men and a lot of women would look at this young man and say, well, he's putting himself through medical school. When I was in college, I knew women who were putting themselves through medical school by stripping. So
oh,
it's
yeah,
interesting, right? But for this man to make up a woman and then do this and put this out there for
yes.
men to absorb this negative, and he's like, but I'm going to be a doctor. It's like, I don't want you touching anybody's body. That's what you think is okay. He
And
shouldn't
yeah,
be
and
allowed to be a doctor because he's showing he has no ethics or morals. So
exactly. And I've looked at official news. We're talking about Wired, like Yahoo News. All of these people, they're not even trying to make him look like a bad guy. They're saying, "Oh, but
mm.
he's paying off med school." Oh,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
there's
What
people
an
like the
entrepreneurial
news.
guy.
I know, and it's absolutely ridiculous. I will read off the title from a news. It says, "Scammer used AI MAGA influencer to fund med school, and it surprisingly worked." Oh my God, guys, let's all go make AI
Wow.
porn and profit off of it.
Hmm.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
I
That
read
was
this
the
last
headline.
night. Yes, I literally
Yeah, no,
search
I
it up right
believe
now.
you. But I think it's great that someone from your generation is out there with a voice that's identifying the language that,
Yeah.
to your peers within your, I mean, to us as well, because
Mm,
I really think it's great to see someone from your generation doing that, because
mm,
I think the media and the headlines are really truly part, aside from the algorithm that we can't necessarily do anything about,
mm,
but the language that they launder
mm,
this the patriarchy through and
mm,
the violence against women through.
mm.
Exactly, you just gave that. I mean, exactly. You gave a great example of that. It happens every day.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, you don't see anyone talking about this. Like, I'm talking about the New York Times haven't touched upon this. The BBC, no one is talking about it. Like, the only official source of the person who found out about the Sam guy, the medical student, is The Wired. And, like, why is no one having this
And
conversation?
surprisingly, it worked.
Yeah, this literally, that
That's
was
the
the
headline.
title.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Kind
know.
of like
And
when Serena Fairfax was murdered by her husband, Justin. It was a contentious divorce. That was the reason that she died. It was a
oh my
contentious
He
God.
divorce.
was depressed.
He
Come on,
was.
Lisa.
He was
This is the
depressed.
male loneliness epidemic. What's
He
wrong with
was
you?
depressed, and he was depressed because he made a bad decision and had sexual abuse allegations
Oh
against
my
him.
God. I
Right.
want to bring this up before we go on, but it's insane that as you see this in how rape victims are treated is
Mhm.
that they usually don't prosecute the men, especially if he's young. Oh, he can't waste his life away in prison. What about the woman who has been literally physically scarred, psychologically scarred for life? And you're telling me that you're not even going to put him into jail and
Mhm.
not give her the justice that she deserves. It's
But you're
everywhere.
not a human being, Sophina. You're not a
Yeah.
human being. You're something for them to use. Your body is something for them to use. And when they're not using it sexually, your body is to serve them food and to clean up their shit. That's what they
Mm,
think. I'm
exactly.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm very blunt. So,
It's true. And
but I wanted to ask you, Zolfina, uh, Lisa had a great question that she had talked about. She wanted to ask you,
yeah.
what do you want us as older women to know about what you see the way the patriarchy is evolving in this moment? Because it's extremely aggressive and in our faces. I mean, they just don't care anymore. At least they used to try and hide it before. Now, whatever.
I think my message would be you're not invisible. My mom is in her 50s right now. And
Same.
basically, yeah, um, after I feel like in your late 40s, women starts to become invisible. People just stop
Mm,
putting them, they're not in the height of their career because for men, that's the height of their career. They are, if you see
yeah.
this on Substack as well, I see so many news, like, kind of journalists here that, especially men, they are really going well because, they had their careers, but then after their 40s, they're profiting off, especially on Substack. But my
Yes.
message would be, you're not alone. You're not invisible. We young feminists, we see you, and our struggles are so like the same. It's the same struggle. It's arguably have gotten worse because we're seeing more coverage of
I
it
think so
and
too.
more extreme lengths on the internet. But we're not alone, and I'm glad I have my platform because I'm having these conversations with you, like intergenerational
Yes.
conversations,
So
and
important.
and it just proves that like we aren't the only people or the only generation of women who are fighting off the root, like the patriarchy. Yeah.
Mhm.
I will say, I think in general, and Lisa, you let me know if you agree with this. I would say, so I'm Gen X. I was born in 1971, and I was raised in a Mormon household by a crazy mom, and we had our roles that we were supposed to fulfill, and yet, everything seemed like a lie to me. And it was always about, because I knew I was gay, it was always about trying to be able to take care of myself as an adult, but I never kind of disbelieve the thought that men thought that we were equal. I kind of would believe the lip service. And I would see a lot of that. And I thought going into the Border Patrol would be that equality. And then I saw the vast difference. And like I said, my father would say, those men are different. I'm not like this. But, and yet, when they're together quietly, so I had enough time with men in the Border Patrol to know how they really talk when they are by themselves. And once you get into that kind of group, and especially as a lesbian, and they like to think of you as one of, somebody who's going to treat women the same way they do, even though that's not true, they're more
Mm-mm.
open with you. And what I saw in the Border Patrol was just terrifying, terrifying, the things that men would say. And they would play it off as a joke, but it wasn't really a joke because later on you find out they were being investigated for something or this or that. And the systems just keep going on. I think what I would say to your generation is that if we don't demand accountability and some kind of scaffolding and structure to protect women and their bodies and see them as equals in this country, which is what Lisa and I are discovering now as we're doing our research about our politicians, and that there
Mm.
just is no accountability. If there's no accountability in Congress, if these women can't protect themselves in the halls of Congress,
It trickles
what,
down.
yeah. And right now, the way they're like, well, Swalwell left, that's accountability. No, that's not accountability.
That is not,
Mm-mm.
no.
It's not. And we need to
And
define that. And we need to say what we want. And you all need to define that. And you all need to be very specific about what you want. And we need to demand it. We all need to demand it. There's no reason why, especially our leaders who are women, do not have platforms on women's violence and are not commenting on this in this moment. There's no
Not,
excuse for this
nowhere
anymore.
near the level that they should be, even the ones that are, right?
And I also want to
Mm-hmm.
point out that we have seen the same, like when you said Swalwell, he just pulled out of the campaign. There was no sense of justice. He
Mm-mm.
wasn't, charged, or, the
Mm-hmm.
police didn't take him away. And I see the same pattern in the Epstein files and how they treated those
Mm-hmm.
men there. They just quietly retired. They had no news coverage. Just there's absolutely no sense of justice. And as we know,
Nope.
the only person who was being prosecuted by these Epstein files is a woman. And that just
Yeah.
speaks volumes. They won't let a woman get away, but they will let dozens and dozens and thousands of men get away. And I also wanted to touch upon, you said that you were Mormon. I also was raised in a religious, like Muslim community. And
Mm.
from the start, just like you, I was not believing this shit. I just refused to believe that. Like the main thing in Islam, I will say, is a lot of people say it's the most feminist like, but if you think that religion only gives women human rights, then you're completely wrong. Religion takes away these rights and they're granting it back to you, but we've always had them right from the womb, and religions take away for most of it, in my opinion.
I
Yeah,
agree. Yeah.
I would agree with you in many, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other I was born and raised Catholic, and no longer practicing, but I would say exactly the same. I mean, for
Yeah.
obvious reasons, there's all kinds of things going on within that.
Yeah.
Your last piece that you did that I wanted to just when you had talked about the good men behind the Rape Academy.
Yeah.
That was a great piece. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit of insight about that, because you talked about the infrastructure, right? That it's not just one individual man, it's the infrastructure. So
Mm.
could you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah. So I really see a lot of men in my life call themselves this good man, like, oh, I'm not a rapist, like I'm not,
Right.
I don't know anyone who physically, like, raped or assaulted a woman. So I'm the good guy here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is like an example of passively enforcing the patriarchy, because what these good men do is that they absolutely do not hear women out. Because I've seen this on Substack, on any social media, especially when the Rape Academy was trending, was that a lot of these men were saying, by the way, it was only 63 million views on a porn website called
Right.
Motherless,
Right.
and the Rape Academy only had 1,000 members into it. And that is an example of how good men act in these situations.
Mm-hmm.
They try to, first of all, center themselves into the conversation. They
Mm-hmm.
try to completely go away from holding these men accountable in the first place, and instead finding excuses and justifying their actions.
Yes.
And for me, I think that what the Rape Academy showed is this rape culture is enforced by basically everyone, women
Yes.
as well. And especially, I also touched upon how the not all men that stupid defense, because it's absolutely stupid, because one of the examples of how rape culture is upholded is through locker room talk. At this very moment right
Bro
now,
code.
yes, at this very moment right now, there is a group of boys, group of men just maybe sitting in a classroom, or they're hanging out watching a game, and they're all talking. They might be talking about women, and it's not a good conversation. It's not polite. It's not wholesome. It's not respectful. That it dehumanizes women and girls until that there are mere bodies, and they don't even talk about the mutuality of their attractions. They just talk about
Right.
their desired behaviors. I
Right.
see this, especially in your generation, the movies that you watch, and in my generation, the late 2010s and all those, I see so many boys as well. There's a stereotype in the media where men peek and sneak a look at women changing in their own rooms, being human, doing whatever they want. And that is a classic example of good men, because they aren't doing anything to the woman. They're not physically harming them, but
Right.
they're still upholding that culture.
It's interesting because I wrote about this in a piece I had done a while ago, and specifically about college age men. Have you seen? There's a study out there that was done, and I can share it. I don't have access to it right now, but there was a study out there about college age men that they did a questionnaire regarding how many of them would think it would be okay that they would actually have sex with a woman who was passed out or drunk. Okay. And it was like over 30% of them felt that it was okay. Okay. Now, wait. So here's the over 30% of those in that study said that was okay. Then when the word rape was actually used, it dropped down to like less than 13%.
Oh my God.
So that's how
It depends on how you word it. Yeah.
that's how
Mm-hmm.
they're differentiating, because if she's passed it, I mean, look at what's going on with this Global Rape Academy. It's almost
Yeah.
the same concept, right? Like,
Mm.
oh, I could take her out, and if she's drunk or if she passed out, I can do whatever I want. That's fine. But if you use the word rape, oh my God, I'm a good guy. I would never do that. No.
Oh God.
But it's,
I know.
they're not differentiating between, I mean, they're the same, what they're describing, right? So I thought that was really interesting part of the study. But I do think
Yeah.
language is used to buffer what's actually really going on. Would you say that that's accurate?
Yes, yes. And I also want to mention, I think you guys have seen this. I've seen it trending on Substack. Is they did a study. If I think like our generation, Gen Z men, do you believe that wife should obey their husbands?
Mhm.
And it
Oh,
was, I
yes.
think, yes. And they young men, they agreed more than boomer men, that generation. And it is absolutely insane.
God.
I know. But going back to that language conversation, I did see another research where it was a survey discussing about gender equality and especially feminism. And the survey was, do you believe that women and men should be equal? And most of men, like globally, young men, they said, yeah, of course. Like I think 40%. And then they said, is feminism too far or something along those lines? And overwhelmingly, a majority of young men are saying yes. So you can see an example of that. People use language, especially the media and major media corporations, to weaponize gender equality and
Absolutely.
like true women liberation. And they also use it to justify good men's actions. Yeah.
And they have been doing this for generations. I was
Mm-hmm.
just reading an article the other day about Peter Thiel's involvement, like behind the scenes of a lot of some of these messaging going around about attacking feminism.
Oh, yes, I
Yeah,
have seen it as well.
yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
nobody knew about, who there's a lot of big money that's been behind taking down feminism and women's equality,
Yeah.
right? A lot.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the other
And
day that Peter Thiel's group was behind all this trad wife stuff. He's the one that's
Exactly.
funding
he's
all
That's
these
what I'm
also
women.
saying.
he's
Yes.
Yeah.
And
also
go ahead.
sorry,
No,
he's
no, go
also
ahead.
behind Clavicular, the guy who he is
Oh.
funding
Really?
Clavicular. Yes, I am also, that's my second article I'm working on. So much going
Wow.
on, but
Okay, so take a look
he
at,
is
He's
I
a
mean,
gay man and he hates women so much. It's like,
exactly.
God, why are y'all listening to a gay man telling you how to treat women? Jeez, are you
I
kidding
know.
me?
Yeah.
well, because
So,
I mean, it's about this hierarchical, patriarchal structure that he
because he
is
has
trying
money.
to ensure, that the white male power
Mhm.
resides at the very, very top forever, forever.
Mhm.
There's nothing more dangerous than a white gay man sometimes,
Oh,
and the
that
level
is
of
so
hate that
true.
some of them have
Yeah.
for themselves. Luckily, I know many wonderful gay men, but some of these gay men are just some of the most diabolical men ever. It's just,
No,
oh,
but shout out Lawrence though
terrible.
on the Daily Whatever show. He's amazing though.
Oh no,
That's
there's plenty of
yeah.
good gay men. Yeah,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
but I
honestly,
mean, just
she has
but
been
some of
raving
the
about
most evil
Lawrence to
men.
me. Yeah,
Yeah, I love Lawrence.
yeah,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but
So,
well, thank you for
go ahead,
coming.
Jen.
Lisa, do you have another
No,
question?
no, well, I could talk to her for the rest of the day. But
I
I
know,
mean,
but
honestly,
we also have Nick waiting as well. So since we're limited to only 3 guests
since
apiece,
we're
so
not players,
We're not players.
yeah.
it's okay. Peter Thiel, we're coming for you. That's all right. One day
One
we'll
One
day.
get
day
you.
you're gonna die like everybody else, Peter. It'll be fine.
Um,
You're not immortal.
okay, so
He wants to be.
yeah.
So,
Well, thank you for being here, Zolfina. We really appreciate the conversation. And go ahead and tell everyone about your Substack again and your platform because we want to make sure people follow you. You're doing some great work and truly appreciate it.
Thank you. It's called Letters from a Feminist. I did start it at the late of February this year, and it's been blowing up. I'm overwhelmed by the support, and thank you for having me
You
on the
deserve
show.
it.
mhm.
Thank
Deserve
you.
it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for
We'll have you
having
back
me.
again for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Keep
right.
We'll make
Peace
writing.
it a
out.
Keep
point.
writing. We'll keep
Yes.
listening. Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She was
All
great.
right, like she is great.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being that much. I think I thought I was a feminist like that when I was her age, but no,
I
not
thought I
even
was too,
remotely
but no,
aware.
I'm blown away by her. She deserves the support and accolades that she is getting. And I am really inspired to see her fighting the good fight with trying to, you know, uh, shed light on the negativity that is being, spread about feminism because they've done a really, really darn good, they've been a damn good job over the last several generations trying to squash it out.
I think they've also done when you think about the fact that I believe she's located in the Middle East. I want to say Dubai or somewhere over in that area, and I think
Oh, I did
that
not know that.
yeah, and so and I think that our prejudice, certainly in this country, certainly as white women, that you're a Latina, I'm a white woman, is that those countries are very anti-feminist, and I would say they're no more anti-feminist probably than our country nowadays. So
Oh, absolutely
that's
not.
part of the gaslighting as well that they give us to keep us from all connecting and so
Absolutely.
forth.
And you know what? I think it's really interesting because any woman out there who thinks that, oh, well, the Muslim communities are so much more, that is like, we're no better. We are
Mm-mm,
absolutely no better. And by the
mm-mm.
way, the other thing that really makes me insane is listening to, um, the far right podcasters and influencers with their, well, right men are just hotter, or right women are just so much, right women are just, we're just hotter. I'm like, I hope you like
It's
an
just
egg.
stupid shit.
It
I
is
mean,
stupid
come
shit, but I have
on,
to
it's
say,
just
you know what I'm
stupid
thinking?
shit.
As she's bearing her midriff and she's like, we're just hotter. I'm like, I hope you like aprons, sweetie, because that's what they're going to put you in. And you think you're going to be exposing no, you're going to be in the kitchen. That's where you're going
You're
to
gonna
be.
be in the
So,
kitchen, and after you pop out a couple of babies and you ruin your
Exactly.
body. He don't
Exactly.
want you no more.
Yeah. All right. I'm sending an invite to Nick Pero.
Okay, I know he's watching. So I see other people saying hi to Nick.
We're really excited that he could be here. I'm actually
We'd
really
hope
glad
to have
meet him.
a four-way conversation, but you know.
Well, yeah, we were
It's
planning on
it can kind of get a little too complicated sometimes, maybe. But
let me move myself.
There he is.
How
Wait,
are you?
I can't hear anything.
Uh-oh.
Can't hear anything.
Hold on. I can't hear anything.
Oh, gee.
Okay. We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You can hear me, but I can't hear you.
Yeah.
It's probably it's my fault.
Okay.
I have too many things going. It's my fault.
Too many windows open.
Can you hear us now?
Let's see. Does he maybe need to go out, or he'll do another?
I thought we had it figured out.
I do that too. Sometimes it depends on which headphones I have on.
I'm going to plug my headphones.
This is why I don't deal with the headphones, guys.
That's
why I can't do it.
And we'll see if that works. Bear with me as I untangle this knot of headphone wire.
In the meantime, I just want you to know. Well, we'll tell him when he can hear us.
I'm always so careful about getting my head about wires, and I'm over here with everything all tangled up and gross.
Oh,
this
that's
is why I don't even deal with them. I can't do it.
My wife is good. She's the one that wraps up all the cords, and I'm just like, I'm like, why is this tangled? Oh, you know, and it's my fault.
I can't even mess with that.
Yeah.
Can you hear us now? Are we good?
Can you hear us now?
I feel like. Are you good?
I still can't hear you.
Oh
no!
This is so weird. It's my Mac. It's not you guys. It's me.
It's your Mac. Can you try doing it on your phone? Re-invite him. Maybe drop him and re-invite him on another thing or something. I have that problem with my Mac as well.
I don't want it to jinx me because I have a Mac, so hopefully it's going to be fine.
Fucking Mac.
Any minute now.
It'll click on. It'll suddenly catch it.
All right.
Yeah, sometimes it works great for a while, and then other times it doesn't.
Can you invite me in again in a second?
Yeah.
Let me play with my settings.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
We'll give you a minute.
We'll bring Nick back in a few minutes.
Okay.
You have a part you wanted to talk about, naming the scaffolding that has emerged from the conversation, and I think the important scaffolding that we've seen is, it's really interesting. I had no idea that this was going on.
Oh no! Why is it only me? Goodness gracious! Now all of a sudden, Jenn is gone. Holy cow! Let me get her back. Oh my god! This has been the
This is a podcast from hell.
Yeah. Okay. There you are. Now you're back. I don't know where the hell did you go?
I was talking this whole time and it totally cut me out, I guess.
Yeah,
so
you were totally gone. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, no.
All right, let me invite Nick again.
Okay, try that. I was asking you a question, but it didn't get in.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. You can ask it again while we're waiting for Nick.
I was asking you because you're the mother of two boys. Were you well aware of that these gaming systems were being used to spread misogyny and violence against women?
Okay, no, I was not. I became aware of it as my kids were of age and adults. That's when I really became. Can you hear us now?
No, I can't hear you.
You can or can't?
No.
Oh no, I'm so sad.
This is my MacBook's fault. I can hear you before I jump into the live, and then I get into the live and it's like, nah, screw you.
Oh man, that's such a bummer.
Lisa,
Everyone loves Nick. We want to talk to Nick.
you know what? Lisa, I'm gonna let me drop out and you and Nick talk, okay?
I don't think
Because
that's going to
I really,
work, but we'll try. I mean, why
well,
would
let's
that?
try it. I'm gonna drop out because I really would like Nick's opinions and talks
Well,
about this.
what?
So try
Okay.
to do it if I drop out, and then Nick, if it's still not working, then y'all two come back on somehow because I
Okay.
think
All right.
Nick's
Okay.
perspective is very important. All right,
Okay.
bye guys.
But I don't think that's going to work, just so you know.
Okay.
All right. Now, can you hear me? Still no? Cannot hear me. Okay. So that didn't work. Sorry. That didn't work. Shoot. I'm really bummed about this. I'm sorry, Nick. I have no idea what in the world is going on. We'll keep trying. We'll keep trying. I'm tap dancing. It says you're on, Jenn. I sent you an invite again, Jenn. So hopefully don't decline it. You have to come back in. It's not helping. We're going to see. Hold on. Okay. It didn't work, Jenn.
Ah, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Just
Say
not
something,
Nick.
Nick.
Sorry, Nick.
I can't even hear him now.
Now I can't hear him. Oh, I'm so bummed.
I'm sorry, Nick. I think it's
Maybe
the
Nick should
man.
invite us.
Maybe Nick should. Well, I think he does that StreamYard thing, and
Oh,
we're
yeah.
not
Yeah.
doing that because we're not popular enough yet. So
I have StreamYard. I have no idea how to use it. So,
do you think if you ended this live and started it again?
I mean, well, it worked with Sulfina. So do you know what I'm saying? I don't understand what the difference is.
That's
But
a good point.
I can't hear him now at all. I'm not sure what
hear
this
you
means.
at all.
Man.
He's typing now.
Okay. Reinvite me. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll just keep reinviting him and talking as we do. Okay. Thumbs up.
Okay.
All right. We're going to reinvite him again. In the interim, you were asking me a question. I don't know what that was, but
I was asking you how aware you were as a mom that this indoctrination, it's essentially grooming.
Yes,
What
absolutely.
these men, what the tape men, these guys are doing is they're grooming sons, young men.
Yep. And they have been, and we've been asleep at the wheel.
Right.
We've all been asleep at the wheel. And they've known this. They've known this, that they're radicals. How about now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Yay!
I had this web page muted, and so I couldn't hear it. So every setting that I was testing was wrong because I didn't test the setting in the browser.
Okay. All right.
I'm still going to blame it on the manosphere. Just because.
I blame it on Peter Thiel. It's his fault.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't think they want us to talk to you. I'm going to tell you that.
No, probably not. They really need to just suck less, though.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to meet you because the first time I've seen you a lot, but I loved when I first heard your conversation with Wajahat Ali when you were on the left hook and you were talking about the work that you were doing with men. And I was so excited to hear it because it was, the only time I'd ever heard anything else about about that was Jackson Cates. He wrote a book. He's a clinical psychologist and wrote about that. And I hadn't seen anything out there doing what you're doing, which is actually building a positive male culture. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. And the conversations that you guys had, and I can't remember who the other person was that you had on it was
Pete Dominic.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It was a great conversation. I was like, wow, more people need to listen to these messages and hear from them. And especially after this Global Rape Academy that came out, your messaging around that was so, I huge shout out to you, because you are one of the few men that has really taken an enormous stance defending and supporting women. And I just wanted to say personally, I'm so grateful to you for it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take the compliment. I hate getting that compliment.
I get it.
To be totally honest, I hate receiving that compliment because
I get it.
It shouldn't even need to be a thing.
Right.
Like, I shouldn't need to be thanked for just being a decent person. Like,
you're totally right.
You guys aren't thanked for being decent human beings. I don't understand why I need to be, but I take the compliment and I appreciate it and I value it, especially in this moment. So I'm not downplaying it. I just wish it was not a necessity. Like, that's really where I wish we could be, is like, we didn't need to have this conversation. It could just be us men continuing to talk on it, and we would be, because it's better humaning. I grew up with a psychologist. Before I get into any long-winded stories, it's really good to meet you. Thank you for inviting me on. Jenn, thank you for having me. Your shirt is fucking awesome. I love that. I know, isn't it? I'm such a fan. Awesome. I'm such a fan.
I am too.
I love graffiti style punk rock shirts. Like, I'm a punk rock kid. I enjoy punk rock. I have a little wooden single fuck that I can give to people that I got at a punk rock show from a suicide prevention group that handed out the last fuck you could give. And so I kept mine. So I still have one fuck to give, but thank you. And I really, it's funny you mentioned Lawrence Winterman as someone you were talking about just a little bit earlier as the counterpoint to, say, Peter Thiel in awesomeness. Because Lawrence is one of the folks who actually helped inspire the Intelligent Masculinity series that I started doing. And he reminded me of how the importance of culture and like what it is that really defines politics, which is our culture and how we do things and what we look like. And men, we really suck. I couldn't put it any nicer. And there's worse ways I could talk about how we suck as men. Like, I could easily talk about how shitty and awful we are, but I don't want to burn men down because society already does that enough. Like, patriarchy hurts men too.
Yes.
Patriarchy hurts everybody. Yes. Because it tells you have to be some small subset of what it means to be a human, that you close off everything else. And I fell into that trap because I worked in tech for 6 years. I was in the Army. I live I understand. I was a truck driver. Like, I've seen that culture from inside out. And I went to school for music theory and composition when I was younger. Like, I studied music and I got to experience the very creative side of things. And then I went into the Army. Then I went truck driving. Then I became a tech worker. And now I'm back to where I'm at. And it wasn't because I regressed. I just needed a job, and the Army was a good career path. And I got in and did good work, but I saw all the destructive effects because while we were in there, the Army tried to pit my wife and I against each other for our careers.
Oh my gosh.
They wanted one of us. They didn't want both of us, because it's really hard to have for the military, it's really hard to have a dual military family that has children. And we had our daughter, and then we had our son, and we were in the same career path, and both of us were good at our jobs. My wife is actually better. She was way better than I was. Like, hands down, she would have made a much better warrant officer than I would have. She would have made a much better leader. She does make a better leader in a lot of ways than I do. We're very different people, but we're also very similar with each other. Like, the reason my wife and I are so good is because we've been married 11 years as of last week, and
congratulations.
Thanks. And we've lasted through poor, really poor, and fairly well off. And neither one of those ends of the spectrum made us happy, to be totally honest. And then I got into the tech field, and the tech field is the most patriarchal of fields out there. And I met some of the most important women in my life while I was there. One of them who's now on Substack, and was my guest last week on my chronic illness show. And I do this work because of women like that who helped get me out of abusive situations and helped see the best in me when nobody else did, including myself. And why the fuck are we treating women like they're not people?
Well,
that's the basic question.
But I think your point is really valid. As a mom of 2 sons, and also who raised 2 sons, they're now young adults. But also,
I need to have you on for an intelligent masculinity series. Sorry to cut you off, because I've been adding. I've added so far. We've at least had one woman on. I believe 2. I can't remember who we've had on. I've had like 30 something interviews in the last 4 months. But we're expanding into better humaning, because men need to see examples of what really good parents and moms are like, and relationships are like, and how divorces are handled, but also what it looks like from a female's perspective of what it takes to raise a good, decent male, human being. And
for starters, fathers don't babysit their own children. That's
that pissed me off so much. Every time, it pissed my wife off more than it pissed me off too. My wife was like, he's my husband and those are his damn kids. He doesn't babysit, he parents.
My little boys, when they were little, would correct people when they'd say, something about dad's babies. They'd be like, daddies don't babysit their own children. So I used to love to hear them correct people.
And to be totally your kid, those kids are the best. Those are 2 amazing kids. That's amazing children.
But to your point, though, I have a friend who's lost her son to suicide a few weeks back, and in the same week, through social circles, through another young man, 22 years old, also took his own life. And people that are presenting like, oh, they're totally fine. I really do feel, and the mother told me that it was really hard. It's really hard to be a tender-hearted young man in this world. And she really does feel like that is what kind of contributed to him feeling like he couldn't go on. So she lost her son. So, I mean, to your point, patriarchy is also horrible for men.
Yes, it teaches men that we cannot feel feelings other than sad, mad. It used to be happy, sad, mad. Now it's just, you can only feel sad, mad, because they don't want you happy, because happy leads to other emotions that they don't want you feeling. Whereas sad, mad, they can control rage and hate and those feelings very easily. They're much more manipulative in that way. You can easily manipulate those types of feelings. Happy is the dopamine producer for happy is a lot harder to manipulate in the long run. And so they don't want you happy. They just want you sad, mad. And men don't have the words to express those feelings because patriarchy tells men, you're not allowed to feel that shit. And that leads to all of the things that we have right now. Like the fact that men are taught, and women, from a very young age, especially in churches nowadays, that women are lesser beings and they're vessels, or it's all the dominionist ideology and Seven Mountain Mandates, and that type of ideology is that women are lesser, they're just vessels, and after they can bleed, you can breed, which means 14-year-olds are on their menu which is why we keep seeing regression in age of consent that they want to put in. Alan Dershowitz, I'm fucking talking about you, you asshole. You're a fucking piece of shit, dude. Like, gross.
Okay, I love Nick.
Oh yeah, I don't hold back. I have to hold back in some scenarios because I'm now doing like congressional candidate and gubernatorial candidate interviews and things like that. And so I have to moderate myself sometimes, but I didn't think I would.
Not here, though.
Didn't think I was going to have to hear, so I figured
you don't.
We can go all out.
I meant it when I said, "Wow, I love to hear this."
Yeah,
this is the kind of conversation we need to be having.
Well, and I keep my door open. My kids, when they're home, cannot hear the other end of conversations that we're having. But when they're home, my office door is open. They can hear what I'm saying. I don't care. I want them to hear what I'm saying. I want my daughter, who's sitting in another room, hearing me have these conversations with people.
Absolutely.
Knowing that whatever is going on the other end of the conversation, this is still who I am. She doesn't need to hear what others are saying about it. She knows what I'm saying about it and what I'm doing for it. And I put myself out there for it. I accidentally walked. Well, I didn't accidentally. I walked around yesterday in Northwest Arkansas with a shirt that said "All of Us Fighting Fascism." And I went into a grocery store and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, I'm just that's who I am. So who gives a shit? And it's who I am in person. And I want my son to hear it too, because he's at that age where his friends play a lot of Roblox and he wants to be able to get into those things. And he's into the horror games and the types of games that I also enjoyed when I was a kid. Like, I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy shooter games as a kid. I grew up on Doom and games like that. Like, and Wolfenstein. Like, I grew up killing Nazis as video games. Like, I'm okay with violence in video games. I don't mind. My kids watch anime and things like that, but it's always with the side of, we talk about some of these things. My daughter is in puberty. Like, we have to talk about these types of things. She's understanding what's going on with her body, but also, why is this anime character so busty, or why is the females always have this type of armor? It's because this is the style. They are sexist. This is not what image of what females actually represent. Some of it is very empowering in some areas, and we purposely watch animes that are very empowering. And my daughter's grown up knowing all of that. And I'm proud to have my door open so my kids can hear what I'm talking about, but also their friends can hear it, because we're a safe house for other kids to come into. And I make sure my kids' friends also hear this. Like, we don't change who we are for other kids either.
That's
so
great.
We create a safe space, because patriarchy is all around us, and that the MAGA influence in our area, or Christian nationalist influence and things like that, IBLP, Duggars, Huckabees, like, we have a lot of things that are very anti everybody, unless you look kind of like me. But even I'm not safe, because you wear the
anti-fascist shirt, and
I'm
okay.
And I'm Jewish. We need to be collected and brought to Israel, and make sure that everything can happen so that they can usher in the Armageddon.
My gosh.
I like going on tangents. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So can you talk a little bit about how your intelligent masculinity program has kind of like evolved? What have you learned from it? What are some of the greatest things that you've taken out of it so far?
Yeah. Let me read the definition that I have put together because of it. That's really the big thing that's come out of it for me, is what defines intelligent masculinity, and what it means in general, because it's, like I said, it's a better humaning conversation. And it's evolving from just strict masculinity discussions to, as I said, we're expanding into everyone. We've had every walk of life almost at this point on the show. And I'm excited to keep them going and keep these interviews going. But intelligent masculinity will and in this place we'll reframe it. Intelligent humaning is the refusal to outsource accountability onto others and the discipline to live with the consequences of our actions and values. And that's it. That's the simple definition I've come up with to what we've discussed through all of what makes these men specifically different than folks like Andrew Tate or Joe Rogan or Ben Shapiro or JD Vance or Pete Hegseth. Like, I'm not the idealistic, chiseled jaw, strong looking buff dude, but I'm happily married for 11 years. And I have a wonderful family that loves me. I have in-laws that love me and care about me and value me. My kids have a stable and happy family with 2 parents that love them unconditionally. I think I'm doing okay. Yeah. And like, none of us are the idealistic version of manhood in their eyes, but we're a real version of it. And we just take accountability for our actions and what we've done, and we're willing to live with it.
What a beautiful thing. It's a rare thing, and we need to hear more. I mean, we need more of that. So why do you feel that the Andrew Tates of the world are getting so much attention?
Because it creates a space where men do not have, well, not just men, but others, but specifically targeting towards boys and young men, where they do not have to think about the consequences. And it's an easier choice. It's easy to live in a world where you don't think about the consequences of your actions and you think everybody else is at fault and you don't ever have to change. You can remain, it allows them to remain stagnant without ever asking a follow-up question of why. And I think that's why it attracts people, is because they find people, again, we have to feel as men mad, sad, or sometimes happy. But I'm not saying this as woe, pity me men. I feel all my emotions. I am happy to feel and express my emotions. I've cried, I laugh, I have fun, I enjoy myself. I'm Uncle Nick more often than not during shows. Like, I am enjoying my life even during fascism. Right. Because I'm not restricting myself to sad mad. But when you're in a society that explicitly reframes false victimhood as victimhood, like, men are not under attack. I'm not attacking men. I tell men to suck less. I want you to do better. I want you to be better and grow more. Yeah. But that's a you problem that you have to be willing to address. And there's a void in the space where nobody was saying those things consistently. And there are a lot of there are a lot of men out there who are talking. I'm not going to downplay the work of so many men that are doing this. But they also, so many still live in the wrapped culture that you were talking about earlier, where it dismisses the actual underlying patriarchal structures and anti-woman and anti-female or anti-female presenting in any way ideologies. It allowed for the dismissal of Eric Swalwell as, I'm going to just step away and that's enough. Whereas I say that's step 1 is he leaves his job. Step 2 is he faces criminal accountability.
Yes.
Nothing
Absolutely.
less.
Absolutely.
Step 3 is he loses his retirement and his pension and his
absolutely.
healthcare.
Everything.
Agreed.
Everything.
I ain't paying shit for that, man.
Also,
I mean,
I think he should have to pay back all of the money that he has ever used if he used the sexual assaulters slush fund. I think every member of, and I've said this on my profile a couple times, and I'll say it here because I think it's absolute. Thank you for saying that, Jen. I think that's an absolutely important point. Is I am calling on one male member of the House of Representatives, not a woman, not female presenting, not anyone else. I'm calling on a straight male in Congress, hopefully a white one, to go on the House floor and risk your career today, right now, and read out the name of every single person in Congress who has used the Sexual Assaulters Defense Fund.
Yep.
Because that is our taxpayer money being used to defend against criminal accusations of sexual assault, rape, or abuse for hush money.
Yep.
And the U.S. taxpayers are owed, unquestionably owed, without any second guess here. That is our money. We are allowed to ask who is using it, for what, why, when. And some male, not anybody else, white male who is in Congress right now, has the power to filibuster and just read all those names. And then while you're at it, read the Epstein files. It doesn't have to just be one person. You can do a roundtable filibuster as long as someone continues to speak and it's not interrupted. You can keep going, and fuck convention right now. We're literally facing the rise of fascism. You can do your damn job a little bit.
Yeah.
You can do the one easy thing that would prove to women and anybody else out there that you are actually listening. Not that you care, because you've shown you don't fucking care, but that you're at least listening and willing to risk your job to do this. Is you have to out every single person who has used the Sexual Assaulters slush fund. Because that's what it is. It is for sexual assaulters and rapists to use. Don't let them lie about what it is. I'm very big on words. I was an interrogator when I was in the military. And
really?
My mom is a psychologist. And so I know words mean things. And if you use the right ones,
I'm big on words too.
If you use the right ones, they mean a lot of things.
And they can launder a lot too. Would you say that that's also accurate? Have you noticed that? And I mean, every day, the way that language is laundered to make men sound less violent.
Yeah, it's why men go around and say, "Oh, but it was only 1,000 users on out of 62 or whatever million." You know what the real answer to that? You said that earlier. You guys said that. You two said that earlier. And I was like, the real answer to that is there was more than zero. The fact that there was more than 0 men who did that is the problem.
Right.
It's not it's only.
Right.
Okay. Well, it was only 7 million Jews who got murdered in a Holocaust during World War II. It was only 11 million people who got murdered in the World War II Holocaust. It's only that many. That's not a problem, is it? It's only Peter Thiel and his corrupt gang of pedophiles want to eliminate 2/3 of the U.S. population because they believe in a population theory that the U.S. would maxes out at 100 million, and we have 340 million people in the US, and there's no way to get there without genocide.
Right.
Oh, Jen, you look really surprised. You should look up TESCREAL.
I don't want to look up.
I'll link it anyways in my post show notes. I have a friend, the Opinionated Ogre, who has done a couple articles on this. There's a pseudo religion and philosophy out of Silicon Valley by Curtis Yarvin that is defined post-humanism and transhumanism, and it's
dark enlightenment, correct?
Yeah. So if you already know about it, don't go research it more unless you really want to, because it's nightmare-inducing fuel, and it adds on to this 22-point manifesto that Palantir put out. That's just a Nazi manifesto for death.
I mean, and they all promote, what's his name? Mark Andreessen.
Anti-empathy.
Yes, anti-empathy and no introspection. I mean, there was a recent, about how he's never introspective. I don't know if so I mean, that's what's coming out from the technocrats, right? Curtis Yarvin, dark enlightenment, very little introspection. Yeah, absolutely. Right.
They hate women and they don't want to look backwards for anything.
Yep.
And yeah, that's one of the big things. One of the questions I ask for the interviews of Intelligent Masculinity is, how do you self-evaluate and self-reflect?
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, that's one of the biggest pieces of masculinity, or just humaning in general, but targeting towards the men who don't know how to do it or are encouraged, that there's toxic empathy. I'd rather be toxically empathetic than not empathetic in any way. Like, screw you
I
guys.
have never really heard, that term.
Oh, that's one of theirs.
Oh, right. I know. But, prior to hearing about toxic empathy, I mean, think about that for a minute. Like, how dangerous is that? The culture that they're promoting is one without a conscience.
Yes. And that's how you get Nazi soldiers who killed 11 million people in a Holocaust and had concentration camps and death camps.
And laundered language through the words of the final solution, right?
This is eugenics.
Yep, exactly.
They're all eugenicists in the end.
Yes.
And it's not nihilism, it's accelerationism. They see that it's the red pill and black pill stuff. It's accelerationism. They see that we're coming to an inflection point. For most of them, it's around this idea of this singularity, when we truly birth AI and we birth a new race of beings. And when you hit that point, leading up to that point, there are many smaller inflection points that you have to go through. But when you hit the actual singularity, humanity has a choice. We either die or survive.
Mm-hmm.
And the path we're taking that they want to go on, the accelerationist path, is, well, we're going to die anyways when we hit that point, so we may as well get there faster.
Sure.
And that's the Nick Fuenteses of the world, and the Groypers. Yeah, dude.
Can I
go
to a legend?
Yeah. Go get your friends, bro.
Okay, because I know I said.
Yeah, you guys, you're good. Go get your friends, dude.
I love
it's
it.
Sleepover day.
I love it. Heck yeah, it was Saturday last night.
No, you're good, bro. And our kids are off school on Monday, so
cool.
We're doing a sleepover tonight.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
I miss those days. Enjoy them.
I will.
You know what strikes me about some of these men, Nick, is that especially these influencers like your Andrew Tates and your Charlie Kirks, when I look at how they got into these situations, I look at Charlie Kirk, and because I was a former federal agent, I've seen a lot of men like this, and I recognize them. They get really peeved around women who can make it through these academies and succeed, and they can't. There's a lot of prejudice there. And I look at Charlie Kirk, and he's somebody who wanted to go into West Point, I believe it was. He was not accepted. He wasn't good enough to get in. And so then what does he do? He makes an entire career out of going to universities to talk to people who are younger than him and convince them that Black people and women shouldn't be allowed in these institutions because they took his job and he failed and it's all their fault. And then you look at Andrew Tate. I mean, Andrew Tate is an ugly motherfucker. I mean,
he's a rapist too.
He's a rapist. He's just not somebody that I mean, he just, like, you look at him and you're like, yeah, he's a dude, whatever. But he has this like attitude.
Yeah, he's a dude. I love that fucking.
I mean, he just has.
Yeah, he's just some guy.
Like, all these young men, you should listen to me, and I'm like, are you young men looking at who you're following and stuff? And it just feels like it's these men who are failures end up spouting this shit and then grooming these other young men because they want them to be as shitty as they are. Is that what's
That's exactly what they're doing? It's grooming.
Why are they doing that? Do they need other young men to tell them, like, to recognize, oh yeah, you're like that, so you're great.
They're so desperate for any sort of positive, any sort of attention. So as children, and this is not a unique thing to me. This is not something that I've figured out like independently. I think a lot of parents figure this. I know a lot of parents figure this out. Is there's really two types of reward for children. There's negative reward and positive reward. And that's all, or negative attention and positive attention. And those both do feed the similar dopamine centers, but the rage one for boys, a lot of times, because boys have a lot of feelings when they're little. And then they're told to bottle them all up and not ever feel them again. Boys are taught.
Now wait, you say that, but what I see is young men acting out constantly everywhere. And everybody moving around them to make them okay. That's what I see.
Yes. This all leads to that. Is we have is as a, and it's something that I'm really trying to make sure that anywhere I've done it, I undo any damage that I've done, and we work on talking about it, and we work on these discussions. Is from a very young age, boys are taught, and it becomes backwards psychology is part of the problem, because they're taught, don't touch anybody. You need to keep your hands to yourself. You need to be all this stuff. You can't kiss your friends. You can't hug your friends. You cannot show large emotions around your friends. They're all explosive. And I'm not downplaying the severity of some of these boys' emotions. Some of them are very destructive because they were given only negative influence and negative feedback that gave them a dopamine hit when it happens. So they got negative attention. All attention is attention. That's negative attention just wires your brain to want more of it.
Still even attention.
It's still attention. They need the attention somehow because they think they're lacking it in some other way, because they are not able to process that emotion, because they were told from a young age, bottle those fucking emotions up, boys, because you're explosive and you're going to hurt somebody. You're going to do damage. You're not allowed to feel. You're not allowed to process. You're allowed to be sad, mad. And again, none of this is dismissing the damage that anything has of any of this stuff. Like, it is super, super damaging, the shit that has gone on for everybody, because patriarchy sucks. Because patriarchy tells everybody that you need to suck. Like, you need to be the worst. It's the soaking of life. Like, and for Mormons, you probably know what I'm talking about, like what soaking is. Like, it is the most boring, bland, disgusting shithole of a life that you can live. And we're telling boys, you have to then become this tiny, tiny little thing. But you're also seeing, say you have a sister or girls who are around you who are still getting a lot of positive touch and feedback from both male and female parents. And this is where the men fail, is we stop giving our boys the positive touch and positive love interactions because we're emotionally crippled and don't know how to do it. Or we're told you can't love your son the same way that you love your daughter in this context. And your son has to be this rigid little boy thing, and you have to then make them do boy things. And that's stupid. I played with dolls when I was a kid. I went to a school one time in a pink skirt and did the school circus and sang and wrote, and I write poetry, and I'm allowed to feel shit. And I let my emotions out because my parents taught me to, in constructive ways, so I wasn't damaging to the people around me. Instead of teaching boys to constructively emote and talk about their feelings, we just told them, be sad, be mad. And if you don't have any other words for it, go cry in your room, go throw a fit over there. And that fit then becomes the response point that they need attention for. I'm working on it with my son because he has emotional dysregulation issues, because he has an actual disability. And it's extra work to remind him of the space he takes up, but not in a way that beats him down, of like, you're a problem for just existing in this space, because then you project that out onto everybody else. When you're told you're a problem, you become the problem. A lot of times it's grooming and abuse. You become the problem that you're told you are because you want some form of attention. We have to give our boys positive feedback in the same way that we do our girls, because then we'll actually raise them in a similar way. And if we raise them unified, wouldn't that make a better approach to our kids and our boys? Wouldn't they be more
100%.
feel like they're more part of the solution? Like, I want to make them part of the solution and not feel like a problem.
I raised my boys in the same kind of environment, right? And I'm here to tell you that now, as young adults, I really love the human beings that they have turned into. And it was really interesting to see their friend groups growing up who were exposed to very rigid households in very rigid roles that they were expected to play. And when they were at our house, it was they truly, and that's why they spent so much time over. We were the hangout house, because they were able to be more who they were and have real conversations with real adults and role models that were male role models that were available to them, that they could model after. That wasn't just, stuff it in, be in a box, only be sad, mad, right?
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah. Yep. And be able to be self-expressive. That was another thing. And like what you had mentioned about being in music. I had a musician as my younger son, and he'd be, at a piano recital, changing his clothes in the car on his way to go play baseball. Right. But that was even something that was, and he was a kid that was into acting, and he was in several performances, but also was a good athlete. That's not something that was also encouraged among his friends. He was the only one, but he had the self-confidence to pursue the other things that he was interested in aside from just sports, because a lot of them, the young men that he was growing up with, they were kind of pigeonholed in a lot of ways. Not all of them, but there was a number of them who were certainly pigeonholed, that didn't feel confident enough or weren't encouraged to pursue their other interests beyond just athletics.
Well, yes. And when they're in those spaces, it's ensuring that we correct our language and the way that we talk about others around us. Like, I interviewed a gentleman named Steve Atchison. He's now a school board member for his district. He just got elected in Wisconsin to be a member of his school board. He's also a coach, or has been a coach. And it's what I did when I coached my son's soccer team, was we don't degrade people on, especially around, you throw like a girl, or you kick like a girl, or you run like a girl.
Thank you for
because
that.
The girls fucking beat you every time. The girls beat you every damn time. When you do it, they throw better, they kick better, they're more practiced. If you want to be good, be like the girls. Because they work their asses off. Boys, you just expect it to come to you. And this is where one of the things where I think we raise boys wrong is we live in a society where it's expected that men are supposed to be given space. You have inherent space.
Yes.
Nobody else does, just you.
Right.
So you don't have to work for shit. And so you demand that space, and we continue to perpetuate it when we do things like, oh, you throw like a girl, or you kick like a girl, or you run like a girl. Well, okay, those girls are kicking your ass, so you better go try and throw and run and kick like them. It's why, and this may be a more profane than some of the other comments, is it's also why when people say you're a pussy, I don't use that word normally. Is I go, yeah, I'd rather be called a pussy than a testicle. Pussies can take poundings. Testicles can't. Like, you pussies can can birth a fucking child out of them. You kick a man in the balls and he's down for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Like, the dude's crying like a baby. And that may be mean to babies. Like, there's a reason I call men, and for all my friends in the audience, you know where I'm going with this, is there's a reason I call men like Stephen Miller a smegomaniac, or just smegma, which is, if you don't know, is the yeasty substance under the hood of a uncircumcised penis. It's like a yeast infection. And I talk about Stephen Miller as a human penis, or I talk about Pete Hegseth as a taint, or Andrew Taint instead of Andrew Tate. And I talk about the gross, disgusting male anatomy body parts because ours are weak and soft. Ours are ugly. When has anyone in the world ever said, yeah, that penis is cute? That's a sexy looking penis right there. I don't think I've ever heard a woman use those words.
Yeah,
even about my own. And that's okay because they're all fucking ugly. Like, and Stephen Miller literally looks like a penis. Like, he looks like a human penis walking around. And sometimes during my shows I'll do the Miller effect where you just go, I'm Stephen Miller. And he just hoods and unhoods himself from his little just uncircumcised hat and just pulls his head back in because he comes in and out. And just like a penis, Republicans and pedophiles are just like penises. They insert themselves without anyone asking, where nobody wants them to be, and they expect you to want to just take it.
Yep. And when you don't, you're the problem.
You're the problem. Yes.
You become the problem.
And so I use male anatomy because it's the most apt description to what they are.
I see. This is why we needed to talk to him. This is exactly why we needed to talk to him. Because
have you all seen? Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Jen.
Have you all seen the latest video? I think Tizzy has it out on YouTube. I like Tizzy a lot. And it's a young man, 14 years old, apparently wanted this 15-year-old girl's phone number or something. I think they're in New York City. And she said no. And she's trying to cross the street and get around him. And he's blocking her and won't let her. So then he decides to grab her in a bear hug, pick her up, and slam her on the ground. And his bros are filming and laughing. This girl is nearly unconscious, laying on the concrete. And then he stomps on her head and looks in the camera as he does it. Like, look at me, look how great I am. Now, his mother has come out and claimed that the little girl was bullying this boy. The boy towers over her. And obviously the recording says it all. And she's now claiming that the little girl was calling him the N-word and this and that, which there's no proof of that. But even if she did, that doesn't deserve a head stomping, as horrible and racist as that is. And I just wonder, like, I want to say, somebody said to me this morning, like, you have to be careful not to blame the victims when we say that, victims need to come forward and this and that. We need to create a new system. But there's also a part where just because we say that women are part of this culture too, that's not victim blaming. Women are part of this culture too. And we are the ones raising our boys. And like this woman shows, there's nothing her little boy can do that's wrong. And this is part of the problem too. So I don't want to just say this is all on the men. It's not all on the men. And we see this with the Swalwell. Yeah, we see this on with the Swalwell issue, and what Lisa and I are researching together as we go through the weeks is just seeing how many like women leaders are not really on the ball with this. Now I know like there's a bill before Congress, or there was Nancy Mace's bill to out all of these people, these predators, but unfortunately most didn't vote for it. But then I found out it actually was a bad bill. What it actually does is it outs the victims against their will. and it doesn't protect the victims.
Are you surprised
But
that Nancy Mace would come out with a bad bill, though? I mean, right? Like,
no, I'm not, and I'm not surprised by that. But at the same time, I'm very angry at the Democratic Women's Caucus, who, as Lisa and I are researching, aren't really that much about women's issues or women's violence. They rarely ever mention it. And what we see right now is these women saying, "Oh, well, swallow well, quit. It's all good now." And it's like, no, no. The fact that you all know that this is an open secret, the fact that you all know that these women can't get any justice, and they're not telling the American public that you cannot legally sue the federal government for something like this. There's no legal avenue to do it. They don't even tell you that. And these women don't even fight for that. That's We all have to come together on this. We want our boys to be raised to be good men. We want our girls to be raised to be good women and to be able to stand up for themselves. But we also want these systems to be put together and considered. And it just is, it feels so more than an uphill battle, more than just pushing a big rock up a hill. When you see the people who claim to care about us, who claim to care about wanting to stop sexual violence, sabotaging it left and right and constantly, and that's all of us in this. Yep. I'm sorry, I just had to vent about that.
No, you're spot on, Jen. I mean, you're spot on. It's we need completely to tear. I mean, because that system and that institution that you're talking about is there to uphold the patriarchy.
Right? Yeah, and I think
so that's what the scaffolding is about, taking it down, and we need to build a new one.
Even what they're doing in the Epstein case is not good, because what they're doing is, I mean, I understand that the victims, this is the only way that they're going to get justice, if they get this information out there. But at the same time, what it does is it doesn't demand of the judicial system to address the problem. It just continues the problem, and nothing ever changes. And there's never going to be any justice. You can never bring any of these predators from the Epstein cases to trial, because our judicial system will not be able to give them a fair trial. What they're doing is creating the unfairness that will cause them not to be convicted of anything. And yet I still understand the need and the want to have this information out. But the problem is, in the long run, it's not going to hurt them at all.
Well, the problem is that the survivors have been trying to get justice for all. I mean, I think they'd rather have them outed and have the truth out there than.
And I get that, but what we have to ask is the system has to be changed for that, because that's not accountability. That's not what it looks like. That's just putting a Band-Aid over everything. And I like what Nick's doing, in that he's addressing the way in which these young men have been raised as boys, whether they're lacking of stuff or being taught the wrong things or being allowed to learn from people that are making money off of them and grooming them to be this way. And I don't know what we can do about that. Nick, do you have any idea? Do you think that the government should be involved in that? Do you think that the government should be like, this is harmful to our children, they shouldn't have access to that? Do you think that there's anything available like that? Or is it just up to individual parents to just try and do the best they can do?
I think that's the function of the government, is to offer services for the people that make their lives better and safer, more free. However, freedom doesn't mean you are free to harass and hurt people. Freedom means you are free from oppression, and you have your rights so that you are not being oppressed. And we live in a society of oppression. But yes, I think fundamentally the system itself is fully broken in this. And it's not actually, the system itself isn't broken. The system is working as it's intended. It's working to support patriarchy. It is working to support white male dominance. Even like, I grew up in Vermont, and it was the whitest state in the Union growing up. However, Vermont openly it talks about all the history that goes on around the country, because Vermont never participated in slavery. We always were against it, and we fought to end those practices because at least from the teachings that I learned, but we always learned, and when we learned in our history, it was American systems are made for a class of people to succeed, and unless you fit that class of people, you don't succeed, which was white male property owners. And our system is designed around ownership of property. And to fix that system, we need to change what we define as the most important aspect of who has rights. And and it should no longer be based on ownership, because that's what our system is based on, is ownership. It is,
and women fall under that, right?
Women fall under that. That's under why marriages were about, you changed your wife's last name, she became yours. Up until like the 90s, marital rape laws were not in effect in all 50 states, and it was not considered rape if you raped your spouse, male to female more predominantly than anything.
I have heard that there are still states where those rape laws are not effective, that they don't have rape laws for your own.
Oh, I thought all 50 states had them.
We need to do some research on this.
I'll need to check that number too, because I thought all 50 states had them at this point.
I've heard people putting things out saying that there are like 30 states that don't have marital rape laws. I need to look into that, because I don't know if that's actually true or not.
And if there aren't marital rape laws, there fucking need to be.
Right.
Like,
well, look
look what's happened. We have a rape academy teaching boys and men how to rape their spouses. That's how we ended up right here. Like, I put out a note.
I just don't understand how that's legal. I just don't understand how those videos are still up, and yet, I can't type the word pedophile into my phone because it doesn't recognize that. But yet, no, we can't stop videos of men raping women. Sorry, can't do it.
Well, the internet was founded on
and you're like,
the internet was founded on two things: was gambling and porn. That's what really runs the internet. That is how it is. That was what I was taught on. What really ran the internet is gambling and porn. That's where the money comes from, and they can't get rid of one of those or the other, because it would all fall apart. And that's a predatory system too. Like, if we really want to change it, we need to figure out how to change information to be free rather than capitalistic based, but also put safeguards and restrictions that easily identify these types of things and take them down for us, and tools that can, this is where, say, AI could be useful, but we're not thinking like that because we have too many other problems. Like, AI should be the most important thing we're talking about right now, because they're trying to push through an unready technological revolution to bring us towards technofascism. And that is part of it too, is the culture around the technofascists. And they want this same culture. They own this culture. They are this culture. They love this culture of abuse and dominance. It is Elon Musk. It is Peter Thiel. It is all of them. And the system itself is doing what it's supposed to do, which is protect rich white people or rich people who own property. And we have to break that so that our system is about protecting individual human rights themselves. And we can recreate our Constitution. The Constitution was supposed to be rewritten every 19 years, according to Thomas Jefferson, who wasn't really a good dude, but at least wrote some smart things. It was supposed to be changed every 19 years for the living populace. We could change the framework of the Constitution. We could change the entire Constitution if we wanted to. We can have a constitutional convention and change the system so that it's based on bodily autonomy and bodily freedom and bodily sanctity and
maybe
rights.
Passing the ERA, maybe,
defining what those certain unalienable rights actually are in plain text and language so that they cannot be questioned. Because I want a Bill of Rights that actually says all people are people. And your right to freedom includes the right to bodily autonomy and safety and the ability to have medical care, any medical care. My rights have never been threatened on medical care, but you two, yours have all the fucking time, every day of your life they have.
All the time. In the state of Ohio, which is where I live, they just passed a bill in the House that they now, when Roe v. Wade rolled back in 22, shortly after, like by 23-ish, I think it was, we enshrined abortion rights in the Constitution of the state of Ohio, right? Well, let me tell you how they're addressing it today. Now they passed a bill that any woman who is pregnant and she is at her provider's office where she finds out that she is pregnant, they're going to be required to report it to the state of Ohio.
Oh, so we're making lists of pregnant women now.
That is correct. That's what they're trying to do. Yeah. And I know they're doing that in other states as well. So you're spot on about that. Do you think, I have another question, because I believe the bro code is a real thing, is it not? Even if can you explain that? Like, because even if you're one of the good guys that don't believe in any of this stuff, would you not say that many men are in a position where they feel social pressure to not say anything when they hear, rape culture speaking through, dehumanizing women and what have you, and how that usually works with the bro code?
Yes. Very, very short answer is yes. It is all about, give me a second. It is all about dominating the space without any want of consequence or forgiveness, and it's demanding that anything you say or do will be forgiven, no matter how fucking gross or offensive it is. And men are expected to not say anything to each other about it, because the response that you get when things are said about it is violence, because that's just like women are afraid of. So this conversation about, I saw it in the chat, and it's a really important one, is men are afraid that women are going to hurt their feelings. Women are afraid men are going to kill them. Men are afraid other men are going to hurt them if they say something. And that's the bro code. The bro code is snitches get stitches.
There you go. Yep.
If you say something,
stitches, 100%.
I'm gonna hurt you. And it's all about domination and violence. And it can be very scary, especially as a man who knows that if you take that first step, you are going to lose probably your only friends group that you have. And for men, it's really hard to make friends. Because we're told we can't have fucking feelings. And to make friendships, you have to have feelings. And to have real friendships, you have to emote with each other and talk to each other and let each other know, and have a group of friends that you can cry around. But the bro code demands that you don't do that in any way. And
so a lot of men are living in these friend groups, but they're very shallow, right?
It's all superficial. It's all about, can I get a modicum of attention? Because I don't know how to feel in any other feelings. And so I need negative attention, or just, I need attention. I need attention. I need attention. That's why narcissists are the way they are. It's based on narcissism, is that I need attention. It needs to be about me. I have to be the center of the universe. And if you fucking out anything I've done, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, or hurt you, or kill you, or do whatever the hell it is they want to do. And so men are afraid of other men too.
So they'd rather just go along with that. They just don't say anything because
it's cowardice in the end to not say something. Because at the end of it is, yes, you will lose that friends group. How do I know? Because I've done it. You will lose that friends group, but you'll make better friends in the end, because you'll actually go and find friends. And it's not as hard as you think, men, to go find some friends, to make some friends. There are a lot of men out there who are desperate for friendship. Desperate. It's the same thing for women. Real friendship. And everybody we're so isolated. And like you said, it's not a male problem exclusively. It's a societal problem.
It is.
The US, US isolationism, individualized isolationism is really the heart of it. We have, and this is two interpretations of how the US philosophy, I think, would be looked at, is we are either a hyper individualistic society that merged together just for the convenience factor, or we're a community. Because the US has always been teetering on the edge of either fascism or pure democracy. And right now we have teetered really far towards fascism. And that's but choice. And fascism is hyper-isolationism and the breakdown of community. And so the solution to this is we build community.
Yep.
Like, we cross community boundaries. We purposely reach out in areas that we may have otherwise been afraid to reach out to. Or we let ourselves just be open to the idea that we need that community so that we can then step into it. And the hardest part is breaking away from your current community. And
but it's very freeing once you do.
Yeah. But it's so freeing once you don't have to live in the lie of I have to be angry all the fucking time. Or I have to hurt people to feel good. Or I have to hurt people just to feel. No, you don't.
I think I'm probably making this too simplistic, but I just want to say this in case other people are wondering this, is, are we saying that the reason why husbands are drugging and raping their wives and videotaping it and showing other men how to do it is because they're lonely?
No.
Is that what we're saying?
No.
No. What I'm saying, I would say they're lonely, if we want to put lonely into quotes, because they're not lonely. They need power. Men are doing this, and abusers, not just men, but majority men, majority in this case men, especially the Rape Academy, that is a male problem, more so in any statistical anomaly than in any statistical reasoning, in any data set. It is primarily men who do this act of violence.
I also
it's a power thing.
It's totally about power and control.
Yeah,
power
it's not
and
so much they're lonely. We've taught men to, it would help reduce these types of violent acts because men would be able to express themselves in ways that are constructive and actually talk about their emotions and talk about what's going on and go to therapy and get help that they need, because they'd actually be willing to accept that, hey, maybe I'm the problem. And that's okay. Like, it's okay to say, I did something wrong. I need help. I'm screwed up here. I've been in therapy since I got back from Afghanistan in 2017.
But that's another issue, is it not, Nick? I mean, how many men are actually open to therapy? I mean, that's also, would you say that that is a, for many men, they're not comfortable with the idea of therapy, right? Is that looked down on among a bro group?
Yes and no. I think it's more that we allowed therapy to be gamified in the US and we commercialized therapy. And so it became this thing that everybody talked about, but didn't really practice.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So many people are open about the fact, yeah, I went to therapy, I talked to my therapist, and I do this and I do that, and I'm so free. But if they, in their therapy sessions, I'm going to assume they never actually get to the root cause of what's going on and why they're hurting and what they're there for. And so they're not actually fixing the problem. They're doing it to get that status symbol or that check mark or that little convenience factor of, oh, I went on my therapy app. What did that do? What connection did you make? What therapy did you actually do? What did you break down? What problem did you come to and see a solution for? Where did you find a weakness? Or did you just feel good for 10 minutes? And yeah, Angie, 100%. I get it. It's so hard for people to follow up. It's hard to make people follow up. It's also, we've made a system that is purposely exclusionary for real therapy, for real meaningful therapy, because you're limited to a number of sessions per year, unless you're in the VA system like me, where I've been able to go to any therapy that I want to, as long as I want, for as many times as I want. I've gone to a group therapy I went to a group therapy for almost 2 years, back to back to back to back to back to back, because I needed the community, and it was free to me, and the VA offered it, and I didn't get punished for going to therapy. But
that's a great thing. But I have a question to ask you. I'm really glad you brought that up, because recently I had actually seen a veteran that somehow I had talked about how he hadn't been able to gain access to therapy, and it was denied, and he ended up taking his own life. And then you're telling me you could. How can that happen?
Happens constantly.
It happens constantly.
I know, but yet you're telling me you were able to. So how do they discern which veteran gets to access therapy when they're coming forward to say they're suicidal, and who doesn't? I was floored when I saw.
Well, that's a really complicated question nowadays, because, well, it's not a complicated question, but they're making it more complex because they're now adding an AI tool into the VA system to deny basic benefits and claims. And I'm so fucking pissed off about this, because it just went in there. Nobody ever talked about that. And it's about the claims and questionnaire form. And most veterans use third-party tools to help them get in and get their claims in. And those are going to get all filtered out as fraud. Basically, that's what it's going to try and do. So what happens when you get your VA rating, and what determines the services that you're offered at the VA, is your injuries while you were on duty, while you were in active service, and or is this a comorbidity that happened because of an injury that you claimed while you were in active service? So a lot of this comes back to, did you go to the doctor when you got hurt in the military? And if you did, you have a good chance that you're going to get a better rating, because you were honest and truthful about your needs, and the VA now can care for them. I left the Army on a med board. I got med boarded out of the Army on a condition that in itself, VA rating gave me 30%. I got out of the military with a 90% VA rating, disability rating. And I'm a fully disabled veteran now. I have been able to get that to what I need to, so that my VA rating is forever taken care of. And yes, y'all in the audience help pay me because of that. I get a fixed income through our taxes because I am broken as shit. And it hurts me to be standing here right now, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I like talking to you guys. But like the amount of pain I'm in on my back right now, like I'd rather be laying down. But I enjoy these discussions. So
thank you for
I push through it. I don't push myself further than I have to nowadays. But if you don't get rated for certain things, you might not get access to the mental health facility unless you petition to get it, or your rating percentage covers it. Right. I'm lucky. Yeah. I have access to all of the VA services, but it took me to get to 100% before I could get access to the dental. And they want to take dental care away in ways. Most of us have access to vision and hearing, because pretty much every veteran has tinnitus, where you get that ringing in your ears because you're next to loud shit that goes bang a lot, and that causes extra ringing in your ears, and it really sucks. But most people don't talk. Most people don't actually go in and get their stuff rated or evaluated while they're on active duty, and then they don't fight for it and it's a process to get your VA claim in, and the VA can arbitrarily choose to deny claims just by the system saying, oh, no, you didn't get this when you were in active duty. We don't see in your records that you ever mentioned that you had traumatic brain injuries, so you're not getting anger or depressive ratings, and you're not going to get allowed to go to the mental health because you don't have PTSD. We didn't find any record of it in your files.
Yep.
And ultimately, we're showing how we're not taking care of our men either.
And on the backside of it is Pete Hegseth is out here changing, and Doug Collins are changing VA policy so that mental health is less covered in general, so that they can change your rating, specifically if you're on mental health, if you have mental health issues, is they will change your rating. If you're not at 100% permanent and total disability, they will have the ability to re-rate you to a lower VA rating if your meds work. So the money that you may rely on because you're on medication now will be less. That's what they want to do.
It's even that way in the private world, though, Nick. I mean, not in the same way, but I mean, like, my wife went through. We have insurance, and I don't have retirement through the Border Patrol, and I didn't get any of my stuff dealt with through the Border Patrol because it didn't hit me until a decade later, which I imagine happens to a lot of people who serve, and so then they're out on their own as well. But even like my wife just changed jobs, and so. I had to change therapists because my therapist that I had had for 8 years, my psychiatrist, and the small amount of meds that I was on to help, I'd been on it for 8 years, and then my psychiatrist retired, and it took me 6 to 8 months just to get a new one, and the whole time I'm like, I need a woman, I need a woman, I need a woman, and guy pops up on my screen. I'm like, are you kidding me? and then now, because he's a bro, he's all like, we're going to take you off your meds just because we're hearing now from the new HHS secretary that those types of meds probably aren't working for you, and this and that. And it's just, they're everywhere they can, they're attacking mental health care and just destroying it. So now I'm not on meds. I have no therapist, even though I have health insurance and stuff, just because the system is so shitty. And the therapist, quite frankly, now it's just all like, we got to gaggle a therapist. Here's one, just deal with it. Tell them how you're feeling. And they think that that's just it.
Well, it's a crisis, mental health, access to mental health.
It's a crisis
in general.
And their feeling about it is the same feeling that the Border Patrol has. It's like, they'll do all these great things of whatever that number is, 998 or 988 that you're supposed to call if you're feeling this way and this and that. Agents told me immediately, oh man, they fire us as soon as we call that. So, you're considered to be weak, which then again is another thing that just tells men that they shouldn't complain and they shouldn't talk about their problems and they shouldn't talk about their feelings. So yeah, it's a problem all the way around for sure, and it's not going to help any of this.
And it's going to change. It's going to take a full change in the medical system. And again, it's a systemic problem, and it's part of the system that needs to be fixed. Is all my life I've heard like doctors see women differently as patients, that they don't feel as much pain, especially Black women don't feel as much pain as white women do, and white women don't feel as much pain as men do, and yada, 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 all to dismiss the actual medical needs of women and to dismiss actual pain. And now, like somebody said in the chat, for is RFK is trying exactly what's happening to Jenn. Is RFK is basically saying women don't need medication. Women can do it on their own. They can tough it up. You can woman up and do it. You can do it without meds. Like, don't take those meds. You, the woman, are going to be the problem if your child gets autism. Ooh, scary, because you took
don't take Tylenol.
Ooh, don't take Tylenol. Suffer through it, because women, you don't really feel pain. You're just vessels. And it all comes back to this bullshit patriarchy system that we have to tear down. Like, we can do that. And really all we need to do is imagine what the new Constitution looks like, write it down, and go, here, we're going to put a constitutional convention together when we win all this, and this is what we're going to do instead.
Yep.
We should have our own constitutional convention. And we should do it here on Substack, and everybody, like all of us, put it together, and then we can write it all out. This is what we want.
We should.
We have to say what we want.
Heather
we
Cox
have to be
Peterson
for
tells
something.
us to do that. I mean, Heather, she talks about write down. I mean, I did that because I took that shit seriously. I was like, you know what? I'm going to just sit down and come up with some, I called it the Phoenix Papers. I'm like, okay.
Well, I like that.
Thank you. But to just come up with, I'm like, I want to start thinking about forward thinking, the things that what I want it to look like. We're so focused on, many of us, on talking about the shitstorm that we're living, which of course, I mean, it's important, but also it's important. That's why we were talking about scaffolding, of not only tearing down what exists, but what do we want to build better in its place, right? So,
okay.
Yeah. Well, I think we should end this here.
Yeah.
Well, let me, can I build on that point just one second for it? Is this whole idea of having something ready. Is the right wing did it. They had a plan ready. They called it Project 2025.
They sure did.
It was ugly as shit. And they printed it and told everybody exactly what they were going to do. We have to have our own, and I'm glad, and I hope we have another discussion soon. I'm going to have you both on to talk about this too. Is my friend Steph Wilson and I came up with the idea of the Tricentennial Action Group, which is for a 50-year plan that is built out, that has steps along every way. So when people ask, why do you have a 50-year plan? Well, I don't know, because it gives us our 1-year roadmap so that in 50 years we get there and we're not just a jumble of shit put on top of each other. We actually have a plan to get to that place. And why we called it the Tricentennial Action Group is because that shortens down to TAG, You're It for Democracy.
I like that.
And so we can't have stupid derivative names. We have to have fun. So I'd love to talk to you guys about that and do more conversations, because we need a plan written down. We need a true plan that we can hand to candidates and go, this is our plan. Will you enact it? And if they say no, they're not the right candidate, and we move on. We're in primary season. Let's do it before we get through primaries, because we can win.
I agree with you. And part of that, I agree with you. That would be great. Thank you for being
I think
here.
one question we should be asking every primary candidate is, what are we going to do to stop the sexual violence and
I agree.
And help people be safer in this country? What are we going to do? What's your thought on that, sir? What's your thought on that, ma'am? And if they don't have a decent thought on that, then we don't need them. So
we have to be willing to be direct.
Yep. Which
we're taught,
but we're taught not. We are taught not to be.
Yeah.
And especially women, we're taught not to challenge, not to press, not to ask too many questions, because then we become the bitches, right? Like, and I mean, there's a lot. Yeah, but those days are over. If
society is going to say that I have space to exist and I have a voice that's more important, well, the fucking right, I'm going to use it then.
Well, thank you for using it. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on today.
Thank you for being here.
And I can't wait. I'm so excited to talk to both of you again. I've been waiting to talk to you.
That's awesome.
So
thank you so much. So appreciate you. Enjoy your time with your kids and their sleepover, and we'll hopefully talk to you again soon.
Thanks. Have a great one.
All right. Thanks. You too. Bye.
Bye.
Are we gonna
say goodbye?
That was great.
To this, or?
That was
that was good.
I'm so glad we had both of them on.
Technical issues.
I know. I apologize for the technical issues, but he was fabulous. I know. I was great to be able to chat with him. I hope that as this conversation has enlightened some people, and he was so open and transparent about his experiences and what he's trying to do. And I think, did you feel that it gave you insight into what's going on between?
Yeah. I think what makes me sad I mean, I don't have children, and most of my friends have been male straight men, that
Mhm.
just because of the places that I work, and that's who my closest friends have been most of my life. And honestly, it makes me sad to see that young men are taken in by these shysters and that they're being used like this. And what they say over and over again is, well, I'm lonely, and so then I fell into this, and I'm listening to this guy, and he's teaching me how to be a man, and on and on. And it's like, what you're complaining about is you're saying that women don't like you, and you can't get women, and you can't get in a relationship, and yet you're listening to a man who teaches you to be violent with them and treat them like crap. And I have to tell you guys, I know that it looks like the jerks are winning, but uh, from the women that I know that are straight, that love men and want to be with men, they want good men. They
Yeah.
want good men who treat them well, who treat their children well, who take responsibility, who see themselves as partners. We are a team, whether
Yeah.
we have children or whether we have fur babies or whether we don't, and we just travel and we share our life together. That's what women want.
Yes.
And
But I
and
think that they get sucked into that also, though, because of, um, they're finally finding a group where they feel like they're fit in. They've been taken into the fold. They talk about how I've read a lot and seen some different things about how they're being brought into the fold. They aren't initially brought into the fold with these radical ideas right from the get go. They're brought into the fold. They get this camaraderie. They're part of the
mhm,
group. It
mhm,
goes along for a while, and maybe they talk about like 98% of the things they originally initially talk about. They have nothing to do with radicalizing them, and then they'll
right,
insert something, right? And then
right.
and then that keeps increasing. Then it'll be 5% of the time, then 10% of those conversations. And then, as they go along, next thing you know, you're so far along with the group and you feel part of something that when somebody really introduces something that sounds really outlandish, it feels really unnatural to, and now what I'm going to do? This is my group. I finally found a place that I fit in.
I read a piece. I think I sent it to you. We're always sending stuff back and forth about other writers and feminist writers and what people are saying about this whole situation. And there was a woman who teaches women's studies, and she was in women's history, and it was an online class, and it was a big online class, and she was talking about how, in old school, in an actual class, it would be that student waiting until the end with their books in their hand, and they're just waiting to talk to the professor until everybody leaves, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she said, so digitally, what that looks like is all the screens go dark, and then there's this one screen of this young man, and she's like, okay, here it comes. And he says to her, and this is like after months of teaching this women's studies and everything. And he says to her, but there are some things that I like that Andrew Tate says, and I agree with. And it's just like,
Yep.
and you're like, what is that? That it's good to make money, that it's good to have cars, that women like men with money. We all like money. Money makes it easier. Let's just be honest, right? Um, uh, you know, and they will pick and choose. So yes, these guys. One of the things Tate does, what I realize is reading about him, is he teaches young men how to make a little bit of money. So he's offering a little financial incentive
Yep.
to them, and we need more men that have platforms like Nick that talk to young men who
Exactly.
maybe don't have men in their lives. Because
Exactly.
I would imagine as a young man, like I said, I don't have boys, but my understanding is they're very preoccupied because that's front and centered, and I get that, and they need guidance in that. And I think men having healthy guidance is another thing that should happen. We
It's
should encourage
critical.
men to have platforms
It's
that
critical.
have healthy guidance that leads
Yes,
them to
that's why I wanted
healthy.
that's why I wanted Nick on so much, because we need, if I mean it, I think he's fantastic, but you know, like anything else, we need so much more of Nick. So if it's not
Mhm.
Nick, that maybe maybe you don't totally vibe with Nick. Okay, well then there's somebody else, because God knows there's a ton of them on the right wing. Correct?
Yeah, and a large part of the problem is I think too, because evangelicalism, the national Christian nationalism has become so big. I think that they also are being, some of our young men are being led into a lot of shame
Yeah,
about their
absolutely.
feelings and about understanding their bodies and what's happening when, and why it's happening. I think that stuff needs to be talked about too, just like women's healthy
All of
sexual
it.
things need to be talked. It all needs to
Hmm.
be talked
Hmm.
about. So it's encouraging to see men like Nick. It's also encouraging to see young feminists.
Like Zofina.
Um,
I love
yeah,
this.
yeah,
I feel
yeah.
inspired after talking to these people, because this is looking toward the future,
Hmm.
and how
Yeah.
we build better, how we build a better scaffolding for the future that we want, really.
And we say we want it, but we have to write it down, we have to talk about it, we have to get people empowered to talk about it, and we have to make them change. So we have to do the work behind it, just like these other people have done the work to create this shithole system that we have. So
Well, yeah, and when
so
we got on this morning, I mean, I'm energized after this conversation. When we got on this morning, after it's been a long week, we're looking at each other through bleary eyes and like, okay, here we go, right? But once we get around, it's very energizing, and that's why we all have to stay connected, right? Because when
yeah.
we get around the right people, it's contagious, right?
Hmm. Hmm. And they are talking
You're
endlessly
frozen.
about this shit, and we have to talk endlessly about this shit. So that's just the way it goes.
And it's frozen. I don't know if you
That's
guys
okay.
can still see me, but oh, there you are. You're back.
Okay.
Yay.
But I'm going to say goodbye because both of our internet connections are going down, and I've got a
Yeah.
family event coming up in a few hours I
Yes.
have to deal with. So
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here. Truly appreciate you. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it. It was a good conversation.
thank you. We'll talk to y'all
See you
later.
all soon.
Bye.
Take care.
Try
Bye
not
bye.
to rape anybody.
Oh, my goodness. Bye.